Everyone, as promised, we're going to do a season preview. As always, I'm joined by Joel Gibson. Joel, we are doing this for the 2023-2024 season now. Let's see, this is season 11, correct? Am I correct in saying that? So, as always, I'm Mr. Modest, a.k.a. Buzzsaw, a.k.a. your commish, a.k.a. the reigning champ. I get so tired saying that whole title, I need to abbreviate it, Joel Gibson. The winner of the 10th season. As I have now told Joel, I'm officially recognizing his first season and first championship, despite me being in the league. So just set all the records straight at this point. If I do win this year, and we'll get to that, if I do win this year, I will finally tie Joel Gibson. My quest will be complete to get there. It's like the Celtics, Lakers, and Joel, I am the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the Celtics.
I am sure that Cody and CJ will both love that I'm calling myself the Lakers this year, but I am the dream team. And we'll get to that. That's going to be added to my name. So, AKA the dream team, you know, all the names except Redeem Team. Like, I don't need that name. It's never going to happen. Joel, thank you for joining me. Rambled a little bit there. We'll get started here. Now, I haven't told Joel my rankings. These are kind of the power rankings. I'm going to bounce back and forth from east to west, I think, and we'll just kind of move up a power ranking instead of doing, I was going to do like west-east, but that never really seems to matter anyway, other than like, who do you play twice? So with that being said, we're going to start off with my number 12 ranking, and Joel Gibson, you might be surprised at this one right off the bat. It's Jake. Jake, the newcomer, yes. And there are many reasons why I put him down here. Now, he did get better with Ayton, I think, leaving. There's a lot. He had Holiday as well. So he was really affected by the offseason. If anything, I just want him to earn his stripes. And the one I have above him in the West, which isn't, well, we'll do it right now. We'll just do these both at the same time. The one I have above him is Steven. Now, Steven, I would argue there are certain situations where you're looking at these two teams and you're like, well, it could go either way. I agree, and that is exactly why Steven gets the benefit of being a two-time second placer. I think it's two-time. It might be three-time, but he's been around the block. He kind of knows how to cycle a little bit. So overall, I think that him knowing how the season and how the games kind of go, experience, stuff like that, I'm going to boost him above Jake. And Jake, you got to earn your stripes. A very show-me team this year.
Yeah, I also think that Steven probably has the better overall, like, top player in Trae Young versus Anthony Edwards.
Exactly. I was going to say that as well. I'm glad that you pointed that out. I'm glad I left that out there for you. If just going by best player, Steven does technically have the edge slightly.
Yeah, it would be trendy to pick Edwards, but it would be wrong, at least anti-basketball.
Right.
But, yeah, I actually do think that I like Jake's pieces a little bit more than Steven's, but it's pretty close here. Holiday lost some value going to the Celtics. The Middleton situation has kind of unfolded kind of like last year, unfortunately, except different injury.
And you could argue that he's now definitely the third option in Milwaukee by far. And so he's going to have the ball a little bit less. The knee injury, especially towards the end of the season in playoff times, if there's even a little bit of knees, they're just going to let Damon Greek carry. Like, that team's going to be very good this year. Man, his trade with you where he basically got Middleton, and then who else did he get as the second part of that trade? What two players?
So at the time, Vincent was looking like the starting guard for the Heat, and Austin Reeves was. So I think Reeves and Reeves and Vincent were both free agents. So they were swapped in the deal as well.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. But so far, at least, Reeves, he was phenomenal for USA Basketball. It'll be interesting to look back at the end of the season and see who won that trade. Moving forward, I think Middleton might be a little bit of dead money, and it's going to be tough to move him. So I don't like this trade for his trade value. But, yeah, that's kind of why I have Jake at the bottom. Again, I would argue that the West is a little bit weaker than the East, and I'll go through the 6 teams once we get to the end. But 11 and 12 are definitely in the West. And it might be a little bit easier to garner up some wins. So you might see these two maybe have a little bit better record than, say, the bottom 2 in the East. At number 10, I have Doug. Doug was also a huge victim in this trade. Not a lot of value actually went up when the trade happened. You know, Dame's kind of stayed the same. The Bucks value went up, but as far as players, I'm not necessarily sure. Ayton, you'd like to imagine, but then they brought Rob Will in, so who knows how that's going to work. You were going to say something?
Yeah, he is affected in one way positively from the trade, and I think that Simons now is going to have a pretty big year.
Yeah, I guess that. I guess so. It's so tough for me to just go, oh yeah, Simons is going to have a really big year. He was amazing when Dame was out in that small little niche, but now you also have Scoot there. Grant's still there. Like, what are we doing here? Are we doing, like, Ayton, Scoot? Are we doing Simons, Ayton? Like, I don't know how that offense is really going to work. So before I go, oh, Simons is going to be electric, I'm just pumping the brakes on him as much, but he did go up for sure. I agree with you. I'll definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. For sure, because, I mean, when Dame was playing, Simon's value was kind of wavering, right? Now, worst case, he's what? Would you say he's top 60?
Worst case? Oh, worst case.
Not
I
worst,
think
not worst case, but would you say he's going to be a top 60?
Put me on the spot there. No, I don't think so. I think if he gets inside the top 75, that's a win. And the reason why I say that is I don't know if the defense is there, and if Scoot is the primary ball handler and takes a ton of usage, I don't see where the assist comes from with Simons either. So unless he is just going to shoot his way into the top 60, which is tough to do, I think top 75 is a better way to approach that one.
Fair enough. Also on his team is Miles Bridges, which he sat on all last year in hopes that he would be on his best behavior this year.
Let me tell you, there's just so, I have no idea what's going to happen in Charlotte as far as the rotation. It could still work out for it. It could still work out, which will be insane. But there is just so many mouths to feed, young mouths to feed on that roster.
So for Doug's team, here's like a handful of names that are super interesting for this year. That's Paul Reed, Jonathan Kuminga, Simons, who I expressed interest in, Bridges,
Scott Barnes, yeah,
Maxey, and then obviously SGA. All those guys could be huge. I don't think I even mentioned LaMelo.
Right. This is again back to a show me thing. Now, every year we're shitty on Doug's team to start. No, it's vice versa. We're always positive on Doug's team to start, and then at some point he falls off a cliff And then somehow towards the end of the season, he's playing relevant basketball. I think that's normally his track. This season, I am again giving him a show me situation where they could be, you're absolutely right, but they could also be bad. That team could also be bad. And in a very competitive East, I am not 100% sure unless they all are great. Even if like 75% of them are great, it's just not his time yet. They're super young and his future is extremely bright. I'm only speaking on for this year specifically until some of these questions are answered. That's where I put him, was at 10.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. And then next we have Neiman. Man, I just think he could have done so much better for Lillard than he did. I know he was drastically over the cap. He went for it last year. He was first, got bounced by yours truly, by Neiman 2 years in a row. He's going to want to look to avoid Mr. Modest in the playoffs if he makes it in there. And having him at number 9, if we're having me at 1, we might just see a Neiman Modest rematch for a third year in a row, and I will bounce him so quickly. I do still have him at number 9, right on the edge, and the next one above him, who I have at 8, is a little washy. Him and Neiman, again, a little back and forth. So we can talk about both these teams at the same time. Obviously, it's Adam. Adam was second last year, was in the championship last year, and I have him at number 8. I would have felt weird putting a team that made the championship outside of the playoffs anyway. I like Adam's core, maybe. I just think that he gutted his team. And I'm sorry to say this, Adam. I think that he gutted his team a little bit in our trade. I think that Levine's great. I think that Kessler's great. And I think Kessler's going to lead the league in blocks this year and be an absolute double-double machine. But I just don't know if giving up that much value was a good idea. And I could be completely wrong and misinformed. And keep in mind that I tried to throw Simmons in there as part of this at one point. So if Simmons doesn't work out, it's just one of those things where Adam has a ton of cap space. He can take on a lot of trades. He can make a lot of moves. He has a little bit more versatility, which is also why I put him above Neiman. Neiman doesn't have a ton of versatility. He had to get under the cap to get there. And I think he could have done a little bit better. He's still carrying KPJ as well, which is absurd. Drop him. Neiman, if you're watching this, drop him. He is not worth $21. He's not worth it. Drop him.
He might be worth, $1. He's might be worth the flyer, but he's not worth $21. Good Lord.
Yeah.
But these teams are pretty interchangeable. I guess I agree. Julius Randle is a really interesting piece for this season. If he can bounce back, or is it just going to start to decay, I think will really be big for Adam's team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I see more potential with Adam.
Yeah, even though Neiman has the better fantasy basketball player and an Embiid versus Giannis matchup. But yeah, it's pretty close. I've always worried about Levine and injuries as well.
Yeah, but
that guy moves. I feel like he's just an injury waiting to happen.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. I also, just one last thing, as far as Neiman goes, he's still housing Hardaway. I'm pretty sure that he's had Hardaway on his team for 6 straight years. I'm in fact convinced of it. I love Keegan Murray on Neiman's team, by the way, as far as youth and trying to get younger. I just don't see how this. It's going to be right on the edge of a playoff team, and I think no matter who gets the one, if it's healthy versus healthy, it won't be close.
Yeah, I guess I agree, but Neiman's team did do some damage last year. Markkinen just kind of fell off towards the end of the year. If he can keep up his hot streak, that really makes a difference. I'm also interested to see how long Neiman holds on to Aldama this year.
That's interesting as well. Yowza. All right. The next one is going to be number 7. I have Kyle here. Now, again, we get into those situations where you could make the argument one way or another. I have Kyle at 7 and Matt at 6. Matt's team is very top heavy. Jaws out for the first, 25 games, I believe, right? So it was tough for me to put him over Kyle, because Kyle's team is, despite drafting the 2 best rookies, Kyle's team is a win now team. I won't make, when I look at that team, it's a win now team. And I don't necessarily think that it has the right, I don't know, like, there's just something when you're reading the names, something's not fitting, and I don't know what it is. And also, Cat, there's a big question mark on him. Like, a lot of people were saying, even as early as, or I guess as late as last year, that he could be a first-round player when he turned out to, I believe, be a third-round player, a fourth-round player. I know that he dealt with some time out as well. So he's my biggest question mark for Kyle, where I look at Matt's team, and yeah, not having Jaw is a question mark, but he has a lot more direction. His team, when you look down it looks well put together and like it has a direction. Does that make sense? I know I tried to come up with a few more reasons why. I just kept looking at these 2 teams, and every time I came out is Matt's better than Kyle.
So you don't believe in the Jalen Smith breakout year?
I don't.
Me either. But a couple of really interesting guys on Kyle's team is Chris Paul. Is he going to be? He's always been a top 50 player in fantasy basketball every fucking year. So, is it going to happen again this year when there's maybe better point guard next to him? And then Michael Porter Jr., can he get better and stay healthy? I kind of thought he was going to be at least a better rebounder last year.
Yeah.
But he was healthy, so that was the biggest thing. But I just thought he was going to be a little bit better, and I'm not sure where that growth is outside of rebound. So if he's healthy and better, that's a huge piece, and then obviously his rookies too. But
where do you have Scoot now that Lillard is traded? Where do you have Scoot's ceiling? What's the best case scenario? And I'll give you a 10 pick spread, 10 position spread.
This year?
This year specifically.
Man, I've only got to watch the preseason stuff really. I'm going to put him top 70 just because rookie point guards, usually the first half of the season's rough.
First half of the season, and they also can't shoot very well. And I have him all right, top 70, I can see it. I had him anywhere from 75 to 85, leaning 80. I think there's going to be an 8 in front of that this year. So I don't blame where you put him. Also, all the question marks come playoff time for Kyle. He has CP3, he has Bradley Beal, he has LeBron James, he has Wemby. What are they going to do towards the end of the year? Are they going to shut him down? I have no idea. I'm hearing and reading that they are really going to control Wemby's minutes this year. If that's the case and he's an outside the top 50 player, I am by far confident in putting Kyle in this spot because he's going to have all veterans towards the end that might just sit random games. He has Westbrook on his team as well to add to that little mix. I think that there's too many mouths in New York for DiVincenzo. Like, just looking down and defending my Matt's a little bit better. So yeah, that's where I'm at on Kyle and Matt. We're wiping these out two at a time. I love it.
Yeah. Matt, the other thing I'll just say about his team is Vucevic has to be as good as last year, and Butler has to be as healthy.
Mm-hmm. Or I'd be fine if Butler wasn't, because then my whole team, literally, my whole team does really well. Every Jimmy Butler game that he sits, my whole team just shoots to the moon. It's fantastic.
What do? Go pick up Duncan Robinson at that point?
I just might. I also don't have K-Love on my team. I can pick up K-Love. It would be awesome. I might have the whole Heat team come playoff time.
Why don't you grab both of them just to
just to be safe? I want every single fantasy stat. If Jimmy goes down for a long period, you can bet your sweet ass I'm picking up at least one more rotation player. Oh man. All right, now we're into the top 5, so I'll do these one at a time, and I think you might argue with me on 4 or 5, so I do want to see your reaction. Number 5, I have Cody at number 5. A lot of positive things to say about Cody. He did trade away from having he traded the 1-1, right? Or did he trade 1-2? He had Wemby, right? He traded the 1-1.
Yeah.
So if he is looking to, and if you look at his team, he's building for the future, but also he has a few older guys that I'm concerned about. I love Paul George. Obviously, Tatum is fantastic. I worry about Paul George and them sitting, but Tatum's fantastic. Brunson's been fantastic. One player for me to watch for Cody this year is Giddey at OKC. I don't know what they're going to do as far as a rotation there. I don't know how much he can grow. Chet being back, there's so many unanswered questions. Does he take a step back? Does he take a step forward? There's a lot of things to answer with him. So I think that's a big question mark. And before you say it, Sengun is also a big question mark. Are they going to unleash the beast?
Yeah. I don't know. I hear mixed things when I listen to, my pods and shit about Sengun and how high his ceiling is this year.
Yeah.
Adam, I'm sure I would, be singing that he was going to be top 30, but I'm not sold that that's going to be the case. I also am kind of just jealous of him having Giddey. Giddey is he's fucking huge. He's 6'8".
He's so fun to watch. He really is fun to watch.
I heard someone say that he's 6'10", actually, which is ridiculous for a point guard.
They just put him as shorter to fool people.
He's listed as shooting guard, small forward, power forward, but he plays point guard.
He's Ben Simmons. He's Ben Simmons light, actually.
Yeah, but he's more fun than Ben.
He is more. Also, the fact that he has Claxton, Mobley, his front court is. I'm a little bit jealous. I mean, he has Dre, but I mean, look at his front court, just in how young they are. 21, Sengun, Claxton 24, Mobley 22. He has Pirtle who's 28, but again, like he's owning it in Toronto. He's really good up there. He's definitely a competitive team, and I think that these top 5 teams, I could see any one of them winning the championship. Like if you told me any one of these top 5 teams won, I would not go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. There must have been an upset. These top 5 teams are pretty close. I did show a little bit of research to Joel Gibson that I was doing as far as top 50 players on teams and the number each team has. So these 5 teams are easily the closest. And I put Cody down here just because mainly I'm concerned about his injury stuff. And I just think the next team doesn't have as much of an injury concern.
There's also a couple of other interesting players. Mark Williams and Steven Adams you left out of that front court rotation.
Yeah, well, I left them both out on purpose. So
I mean, they're both valuable fantasy players too. So
yeah,
I mean,
Mark Williams, I think is one of his like young, huge upside possibility where he could just shoot to the moon this year and everybody will be impressed. It's another one of those like kind of wild card, see what happens. So there is some upside for Cody here. And like I said, I think he is like leaning more towards a win now as his younger core gets a little bit older. He's another one where, 3 years down the road, we're still going to be talking about him in the top 5. I know it.
Yeah.
Number 4, Joel Gibson, another one from the East. That's right, it's Phil. Now, looking at Phil's team, you tell me why I put him over Cody.
Let's see. Damn it. That's the wrong team. He is Luka.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could just say like Luka, and that's it. It's also interesting because he has a ton of Dallas players on his team. He's really bought into the Dallas way of losing. So he has Lively, who's gonna start, and I told you so. I told you so, Joel Gibson. I hope I put it in the messenger too. I knew he was gonna be the starter right away. Fuck Powell.
Man, I did not see that coming. I'm more interested in how your boy Holmgren's going to do than I am in what Lively's going to do this year. I think Lively's going to be pretty up and down.
Okay, here's a good question then, just to get you on the record. This is a very popular question. Chet or Wemby this season?
For fantasy or real life?
I think both are going to be the same answer. But you can say them separately if you want to, but both are the same answer in my opinion.
It is a tough one.
Got to make the tough decisions. That's what we do on these notes, Joel Gibson. We ask the hard questions.
I think that the Thunder are pushing for the playoffs, and Chet is going to play more games.
100%. He's going to be better in fantasy. He's going to be better in real life. I think that people are underestimating him and kind of have forgotten how good he is. And I just think people have overhyped Wemby to this point and also have overhyped him based on what the Spurs themselves have said they were going to do. So, on top of that, apparently, Phil just likes really tall, skinny white guys because he also has Porzingis for Boston. That's another question mark, but could turn out to be really good. And also, I want to point out, he has a Kongwu in Atlanta. Is Atlanta going to get rid of Capella finally and unleash the beast, or are we going to have to wait another year? Either way, I like a Kongwu quite a bit. So, Phil, if you want to, drop him, I'll add him for a couple bucks. No problem, bud.
And we've done all this talking, and we still haven't even mentioned Anthony Davis or Jaren Jackson Jr., who just, I mean, those two guys alone could carry his team in blocks, and he has Chet.
And he has Chet. And he has Jamal Murray. And he has Jordan Poole, who everybody believes is the second coming of Jesus in Washington, from what I've heard. I think he's going to shoot a lot. I don't know if he's the second coming, but I think he's going to shoot a lot.
One move that I thought was interesting is he intentionally went over the cap to get Buddy Hield.
He did, yes. He's $5 over the cap. So it's interesting because I believe he is the only team. In fact, I know he's the only team that's currently over the cap. I am right on the cap. I was the only team, and I felt very, out of place. So I made my decisions a little bit early. But yeah, he did go over the cap. And you know what? If he didn't watch this video for 31 minutes and find out that he is over the cap, fuck you, Phil, okay? I'm not going to tell you before the start of the season. I'm going to wait and take the luxury tax from you, and then I'm going to tell you. And we are only a week away. So
Big leagues, son.
Welcome to the big leagues. If you didn't watch it this far through, I'm sorry, but I'm still taking that luxury money, bro. I hope you win this year. You got to go all in, Phil, because you are over the cap.
But that was a questionable move. I want that out there.
Maybe he just didn't believe in Lively and he thought he was going to drop him. There's a couple that I guess you could just drop. I know everybody loves Black's upside, but to get on the cap, I'd just drop him. I'd be like, okay, I lost out on him, no big deal. I hit on Lively, so it doesn't matter.
Well, he had an idea that the bidding was going to be high because CJ had bid on the table.
CJ, Matt, everybody was just bidding on players. And I can't be more clear in these videos. I really can't. If I say you can start placing your bids at noon on Saturday, that means don't place a bid before noon on Saturday. Don't do it. I'm trying to help you. Help me help you, everyone. Okay? So, Phil at number 4. Anything on Phil? One thing that I did learn looking at Phil's team was I like Phil's team a lot. It's built really well. And built in a little bit more of an opposite than you and I are built. You and I are built in a very specific manner. I think you and I have deviated a little bit recently because you kind of went more big man with blocks and stuff like that. So you and Phil are kind of in the same vein. And me and the number 3 are also in the same vein. Number 3, I have CJ Ross, Joel Gibson. Now, last year we did this to ourselves where we believed in CJ. We said he was going to do well, and then it all went south.
It's true. But you know what's funny is CJ went and put the team back together. He had Kawhi at the beginning of last year, and he got injured, and he gave up on him. Then he went and got him back again. So it cost him Miles Turner, but this team has all the tools to win a championship in our league, but they're all a year older. So it's hard to say if CJ's going to make it. Probably the biggest question is James Harden. This is someone who was a top 5 fantasy player for a long, long time. And are we going to see him play at the beginning of the year? We don't really know yet.
Nobody really knows. And if you remember, you had Harden during his prime. Congratulations for you. You didn't have to deal with any of the bullshit. But I had Harden during the hamstring years. That's what I like to call them, the hamstring years. where all of a sudden his hamstring just started going bad because he didn't want to play where he was. Well, he's on record and saying in public he doesn't want to be in Philly. I don't care if he's going out there and trying to make nice or whatever. If it gets towards the end of the year, you just might see that hammy start acting up. If they're not winning games, if Boston's blowing them out, if the Bucks are blowing them out, Harden is quickly going to be like, you know what, Maxey, your team now. My hamstring hurts a lot.
Do you think that the Miami Heat have just been holding their gunpowder, saving it for James Harden?
I think it would be incredibly interesting if they were. I think they're holding their gunpowder to try to now get Greek to come down. And I think that would be the funniest middle finger to everybody if we were trying to get Lillard and then Lillard goes to Milwaukee because Portland trades him to Milwaukee. And then we just go and take Greek from him anyway. And then leave Lillard in Milwaukee, which is a far worse position than he was in Portland, where everybody loved him. That would be the funniest thing on the planet. I would feel almost bad for Lillard, but I would also say that, time to win.
For sure. I don't see any of that happening, by the way.
Yeah, I hear you. I get it. Now, to answer your Harden question, I'll be honest. Keep in mind that we did take somebody else from Philly who nobody liked in Philly, and everybody was like, oh, why? What's going on here? It's the culture, and everybody hates it. Do you know who that guy was? Was that Jimmy Butler? Was that Jimmy Butler that we took that everybody's like, oh, this guy sucks? Like, I can't believe it. No, come play for Miami, and then we start surprising everybody.
I think, if I recall, Jimmy Butler seemed like he was pretty well loved by Philadelphia fans. But anyways, let's get back to CJC.
Yeah. Okay, so what I will say is Kyle Lowry, Kevin Durant, Capella, Curry, Gobert. I'm just naming players over Conley, Harden, Kawhi, Splash Mountain, all over 30 years old.
Yeah, CJ needs to win now. That's what it's built to do.
He needs to win now and just hope he can stay healthy. At some point, you got to figure that they can at least all stay healthy for one season. I think it might be too late. But my question to you is, pick any one of these players, anyone that is on his team, and put him on the IR. Can he still win a championship with that team? And I think the answer is yes. So even if he has one out, he still might be able to get it done with the team that he has. Two out, it starts becoming a problem.
It also just depends on what the decline is from Harden this year. If he's playing on a completely different team and he's sharing the ball a lot more.
Right. Like if he ends up with the Clippers, is that what you're saying?
Sure. If he's like on the Clippers and that's not one of the guys who goes down, and I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is then. Is he a top 30 player, top 40, top 50, top 60? I don't know. That number's just kind of...
He just has to be hoping that Harden doesn't go to the Clippers. Because it hurts him not only on Harden, but it hurts him also for Kawhi.
All around.
All around, that would be the worst case scenario for CJ.
I do think that CJ made a questionable move dropping Josh Richardson to pick up TJ McConnell, who is, the
also 30, also 31.
Yeah, but the third point guard in the Pacers rotation from how I see it.
Hey, I publicly thanked him in the Messenger. I publicly thanked him.
We'll see how that pans out, but I've been reading quite a bit of Pacers stuff lately, and I don't think TJ McConnell's going to see a lot of minutes.
And you want to know what? McConnell won a championship with me last season. He was on the roster for the record when I won the championship. So it's just like CJ and I traded that. So we can directly compare them at the end of the season and who got the better end of the deal, basically. All right, last two. Obviously, these were going to be the last two. I will say I was damn close to putting CJ above you, Joel Gibson, but I used West versus East. Best in the West, best in the East. And just as a little starting out at least. Now, if you go out and you get like your shit kicked in first week, I might move CJ up in the power rankings, especially because he's in the weaker conference. But I will start you out there, and I will let you just talk about your team a little bit, and I'll probably agree with 80% of what you say.
All right, so this team is young, and while there are some question marks, there's also a lot of certainties. I've really grown to love this team. Tyrese Halliburton is arguably one of the best values in the league. I've seen him go in like redraft leagues this year. He's going top 5. And I got him at pick 8 or pick 9?
Yeah.
At $28. Just an incredible value. Kyrie Irving is kind of a swing piece on this team. He's also my oldest player, but he's also got all the tools and the history of performing on a first-round level. So if he's performing on a first-round level, which Dallas really needs for him to do this year, things start to really heat up for me and get kind of scary for you guys. Other swing guys that are really interesting are Shaedon Sharpe. If something happens where Anthony Simons is moved, and Shaedon Sharpe is just the second guard, I think we could see 20 points per game is not crazy from him. Jalen Williams was the best rookie in fantasy basketball last year for the last 2 months. John Collins, if he can get back to even a third round level, this team just really starts kicking people's teeth in. So, yeah, I can't really say how excited I am. All these guys most of my guys have very high ceilings and pretty high floors too.
Yeah. Okay. Is it my turn now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I noticed one person that you didn't mention on that list was Sexton. I saw you added him back. Now, Joel, I just want to get this on the record for another year. Last year at the beginning of the season, you told me that Sexton was going to average 20 points by January, and I gave you half the season. Okay.
I said 20 or was it 18?
Oh, we lowered it because I was so sure. You're absolutely right. I said 18. Wow, thank you for pointing that out. You could have just totally... Thank you so much. I was so confident that he wasn't going to do it. I went lower and I said 18. Joel, did he hit that mark?
He didn't.
No, he didn't, Joel Gibson. No, he didn't. Not even rounding up. Not even rounding up.
He did finish the season pretty strong, though.
Uh-huh.
It may have been, NBA silly season.
Okay.
Did finish it pretty strong. He was coming off injury. I'm all in again.
You're all in again. Okay, so how many points per game is he going to average? Let's do the whole season, start to finish.
So, I like Sexton.
Uh-huh.
But the Jazz starting point guard rotation, or just the guard rotation, might be the most confusing rotation in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
Him and Clarkson are similar players in what they do. They're both scoring guards, and they can do it fairly efficiently. And playmaking comes secondary to them. So I don't know that you can play them together because they also will just,
That's what they said they're going to do, though. That's what they said. They said they're not putting George out there to start. They're going to put Clarkson and Sexton is going to be 1-2.
Man, they are going to get cooked on defense.
I know. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad. I asked for points, sir. I asked for points. Give me a number. Give the people what they want.
16.5.
16.5. Yikes. I will still take the under. Yes, I am going out there again. If I cook you 2 years in a row on the under, I will be very excited. Because that will
What would you have put it at?
I'm thinking like 15 and a half. I was close. If you would have said 16, I probably wouldn't have taken it. But because you said 16 and a half and were giving me the 16, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a go. So under it is.
I know you so well. None of this was pre-scripted. I know you guys can't believe it.
I know, it's unbelievable. For me, though, as far as your team goes, just a real comment. For me, it's Zion. If Zion is outside of the top 50, I think that you're probably 3-4, and that's where you end the season, just short of the championship. If Zion is inside the top 50 and plays more than half the games, I think that you're realistically top 4, maybe top 2. That's my biggest thing. You're going to go as Zion goes. So the better he does, the better position you're going to be in. It doesn't matter. Like, there are a lot of certainties on your team, like you said, certainties, right, as they come in NBA fantasy. But I will say that for me, the biggest thing is, did you make a mistake in believing in Zion so much? Because also he affects Nance as well, who's on the bottom of your roster. Those two played great when they weren't on the floor together. So
agree. They played great together, in tandem.
Oh, you think they played better together? I thought Nance was doing better coming in behind him.
I totally disagree.
Okay, either way, my point still remains true. Nance is affected if Zion isn't in there. So I think that like I said, as Zion goes up, I think you have a better shot. If he goes down and falls outside the top 50, I think you're like 3-4 instead of like possibly 1-2.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see, brother.
Okay, and then of course we'll end with the best team. Obviously, has to be ranked number 1. Couldn't possibly rank anybody above this team. Mr. Modest. This man's team looks good, Joel Gibson. Especially with Lillard not coming into Miami. I'll just start there. I don't even know that I have to go much further than that, but I will. I have the number 1 fantasy player, at worst, a top 5 player. At worst, we were talking about this earlier. Probably at worst, or he's injured, and that's a problem. I also have a man by the name of Devin Booker. And I don't know if you know this, but people were taking him, top 15. Yikes. Top 15 for Devin Booker? That would be insane. I have Freddie VanVleet, another top 30 player. I can keep going. I have Kate. Go ahead.
I was actually going to ask, would you consider Fred VanVleet your third best player?
Tough for me. That's a good question. It's really tough. Is he going to average 1.5 steals again?
I'm asking you, dog.
So tough. I worry about him towards the end of the season, if I'm honest. Like, he might shut down. But no, I think he's number 4. I'm going to put Bam at number 3. And then I'm going to put Freddie, and then I'm going to probably put DeJounte. We'll see. But I think that's where I'm at least in my head right now. Bam, only because incredible field goal percentage, incredible free throw percentage. Actually probably will get the steal rate that I need him to is going to be a huge facilitator. We're going to see Bam change this year. And I don't think people really understand the significance of not having a ball dominant point guard in Miami. So, like, with Vincent not being there, stuff like that, they're going to run a ton more pick and roll, and he's going to be at the top of the key facilitating a lot more. I think they did a great job on who they brought to surround him. And Kevin Love getting older, not as much depth. I'm telling you, you're going to see those assists go back up where they weren't there this year. Okay, that's my legitimate take, and that's why I put him above. Where Freddie doesn't really contribute as far as rebounds go. His field goal percentage is gonna be atrocious. The turnovers are gonna be atrocious. So I think that Bam finishes maybe top 25, maybe get there. He might get there, and then like Freddie is 25 to 30. That's kind of where my head's at with that.
I won't poke any holes in your logic. Gabe Vincent definitely was just calling for way too many pick and roll actions in that Miami offense last year. Just every fucking play.
Okay, well, you know what Gabe Vincent wasn't able to do? It was pick and roll. And you have fucking Hero and Richardson, who's familiar with the system now. And Richardson can play amazing pick and roll. We've seen it. We've seen Richard be incredible in Miami, and he's familiar with the system. He fits well there. I think that he's going to be a lot better than people think. Now, Joel, there is one player that I haven't mentioned yet, and I know you're surprised that I haven't mentioned him. His name's Cade Cunningham. And Cade, for me, is my wild card. Just as Zion was your wild card, Cade is my wild card. Now, everybody was thinking, before he went down, like top second, maybe second round, third round, maybe. We'll see. This year, I could see a legitimate situation where he is a first round player. Maybe not top 5, but if he gets to the top 12, top 15-ish, nobody's stopping me unless I'm injured. It just sucks for everybody. I'm going to absolutely obliterate people. If he finishes outside the top 30, I think you, Cody, and Phil can compete at least. If we're all healthy, assuming everyone's healthy.
It's going to be a competitive season. No doubt about it. Brandon Ingram is a pretty important piece for you as well. If Zion does get injured, then obviously Ingram controls that offense. You did take an injury to Trey Murphy to start the year, which is tough.
A lot of scoring. Lost a lot of scoring there.
People don't realize how good Trey Murphy is. Trey Murphy's fucking good. Mm-hmm. And I actually like your rookie. I've been tuning into a little bit of that, and he seems to play both sides of the ball. The other piece that you picked up for basically nothing that will be very good this year, I predict, is going to be Daniel Gafford.
Let's hope those ankles stay healthy. There is nobody in that center rotation. And Joel, as we are approaching the 55-minute mark, I would just like to tell you, remember when we were going to do a short video on everybody, but I just want to end this with, when I said Cade was my wild card, I was doing this man a disservice. And the reason why I was doing this man a disservice is because people don't even have him in the top 100 right now. People are legitimately counting this man out. And this man and I have a long history together. I love Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a league winner this year. Preseason is everything. He had 13 assists in the preseason game the other day. This man is electric. He has nothing stopping him. There's no back injury. That never existed. I think if Ben Simmons finishes in the top 100, it's over. It's over. It's over. I have broken the code. I've broken the fantasy basketball code, and I will win the next 6 years.
I feel like that's a little strong. Top 100 is like just over ownable. It's ownable. But
Hey,
like,
we had Scoot in top 20 or top 85. If it's 80 to 85, you're only talking
Yeah.
about 15 positions.
yeah, you're right.
And also, Ben Simmons, I believe, is only $1 more than Scoot, for the record. So, if we're going to really start talking about legitimate value in a 12-person dynasty format where it's 17 deep, top 100 is difference maker when I'm talking about him like as my bottom player. Like, if he sucks, I just drop him and I clear $25 in cap. But if I'm right and he's top 100, on average draft position, my top 13 players will be top 100 players, Joel Gibson. 13 top 100s.
That's impressive stuff if it works out for you.
That's 13% of the top 100. I'm just saying. If we're really gonna do statistical basketball, actually, that's gonna wrap it up here. Now, Joel, I'm gonna make a prediction, and I predict that Mr. Modest pulls off the three-peat. Who do you think's going to win this year? You just agreed with my power rankings. Are you saying that the favorite to win this year is Mr. Modest?
So, it's not my favorite.
Okay, all right.
You are the reigning champ, and
How many times in a row now? 2?
Yeah.
2, okay. And 3 of the last 4, right? I'm just checking these stats.
But I predict
Okay.
that it finally catch up with you.
Okay.
This will be the season where I put together a streak of my own again.
Oh, okay. You really are going to put yourself as the favorite.
I'm going to put myself as my favorite.
All right, well, you're doing the league a disservice. Okay, you're doing the league a disservice. I hope you can live with yourself. Clearly, we can't take your analysis for anything but bias. Okay, and everything has been skewed to you, and don't believe anything you say.
Markel Fultz for most improved player, baby.
Let's see, Kelly Oubre for 6th man of the year. Oh, I thought we were just shouting out outrageous things that weren't going to happen. Sorry, my bad. I thought that's how we were ending it. Next weekend.
That's going to happen.
Next weekend, guys, week 1 preview. We are finally back. Anybody has any questions or concerns, let me know. If you trek through the whole video, you're a real one. I know you all fast forwarded to when I was talking about you. That's what you all do. But I will have everyone know, I go back and I watch the full video. I want that full view on my YouTube, and I also think it makes me a little better for the following week. So I hope everyone has a good week. Last week without basketball. Thank goodness, Joel Gibson. Anything else?
I can go for 10 minutes on Patrick Williams if you want.
No, we are going to keep it under an hour, though. I was deeply concerned we were getting dangerously close to where I was like, oh no, we're not gonna get under an hour. But all right, see everybody next weekend. Good luck to everybody this season. This is truly one of my favorite things to do. I just love it. I love being back, and I love winning championships. And go Finns! We're actually pretty good this year. Joel. Thanks.
No problem, dude.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.